You take your car in. The mechanic calls you midway through the job. He has found something. Your rotors are worn, your flush is overdue, your sensor is on its way out. You trust him, you say yes, and a week later a second mechanic tells you none of it was necessary. The rotors had 50,000 miles left on them. The flush was done 2 services too early. The sensor was reading fine. At that point, you are not just out money. You are out money for work your car did not need, and in most states, if you have a written report from that second mechanic confirming the repair was unnecessary, you are legally entitled to a full refund, plus the cost of reversing any damage the unneeded work caused. The written report is everything. Without it, you have a feeling. With it, you have a case. That second mechanic visit tends to reveal something else while it is happening. You hand over the original invoice. They look at the labor charges, and sometimes the numbers just do not add up. Not because anything was fabricated, but because of how the industry calculates time. Most shops do not charge by how long the job actually took. They charge by a flat rate manual, a standardized book that assigns a fixed number of hours to each repair, regardless of how quickly the technician finished. A job the book says takes 2 hours gets billed as 2 hours, whether it took 40 minutes or 3. The problem compounds when shops apply the wrong job code to inflate the estimate or stack separate flat rate times for jobs that were done simultaneously on the same opened component. Before you authorize any repair, look up the standard labor time on a site like RepairPal or call a second shop and ask what they would charge for the same job. A significant gap is your signal, and catching it before you sign is the only reliable way to avoid it. The labor question gets more complicated when you add the diagnostic charge on top of it. In most shops, when you approve a repair after a diagnosis, the diagnostic work is considered part of the process that leads to the repair, and that time gets folded into the labor cost. But some shops charge a full standalone diagnostic fee and then also charge full labor on the repair, billing you twice for the same hour. It is the kind of thing that is easy to miss, because both charges look legitimate on their own. The question to ask before anything starts is simple. Does the diagnostic fee apply toward the repair, or does it stack on top of it? If nobody told you it would stack, and it did, the undisclosed charge is legally contestable in most states. Now, that diagnostic fee question becomes even cleaner in one specific situation, because there the law leaves no room for interpretation at all. If your car is in for a recall repair, federal law covers diagnostics as part of the repair. The dealer cannot charge you to confirm the defect exists. That cost belongs to the manufacturer. And the same logic extends to warranty work. If the repair is covered under warranty, the diagnostic labor gets billed to the manufacturer, not to you. Which means if you signed for a diagnostic fee and the repair that followed turned out to be a warranty or recall matter, that fee was collected without legal basis. The path back is straightforward. Escalate to the manufacturer's customer service line, provide the invoice, and ask for reimbursement. It tends to move quickly because there is no real defense for the charge. The recall protection in particular goes further than most car owners realize. Every cost tied to fixing a safety defect is the manufacturer's responsibility under federal law. Parts, labor, diagnostics, all of it. The dealer cannot apply a deductible, cannot offset the recall against other services you happen to be getting done the same day, cannot charge you anything. Check your VIN at nhtsa.gov before any dealer visit. If there is an open recall and you were billed for that repair, the manufacturer's recall line will walk you through the reimbursement process. And if you paid out of pocket to fix a defect before the recall was officially announced, you may be entitled to that money back too. Most people never claim it because they never knew they could. Warranty coverage works the same way. The dealer bills the manufacturer, not you. Experienced owners across multiple brands consistently report never being charged for diagnosis on in-warranty work, which means the shops that try it are counting on you not knowing that. If you were asked to pay anything in connection with a repair that turned out to be a warranty matter, that payment has a path back to you through the manufacturer's customer service line. But the warranty and recall situations are cases where someone else should be paying. The next layer is different because it covers situations where nobody should have been paid at all. In most states, a shop cannot legally perform a single repair without your written approval first. Not a quick fix they spotted while they were already in there. Not a precautionary swap they thought made sense. Nothing. The invoice should be a mirror of the work order you signed, and any line item that was not on that signed estimate is a charge you are not legally obligated to pay. It is one of the most common patterns in the industry, and it works almost every time because people assume that if the work happened, they owe it. They do not. The darker version of that pattern is when the shop charges for work that was never done at all. It sounds extreme, but it is documented with criminal cases, license revocations, referrals to district attorneys. The defense against it is something you should be doing on every repair regardless. Ask for your old parts back in writing at the moment you authorize the job. In most states, this is a legal right. A shop that cannot return the part it allegedly replaced has no credible explanation for where it went. No old alternator, no old brake pads, no old filter means no proof the work happened. And if a second mechanic inspects the car and documents what they find, that report combined with your original invoice is everything you need for a small claims filing. That old parts request protects you from one more version of the same thing, quieter and harder to catch. You paid for original equipment manufacturer parts. What you may have received was remanufactured aftermarket, or in the worst cases, nothing. The part number on your invoice can be cross-referenced against manufacturer databases, and a mismatch is your evidence. In states with strong consumer protection laws, being charged for new parts and receiving anything less than that is fraud, and the damages can be trebled, meaning the shop could owe you 3 times what they overcharged. The Bureau of Automotive Repair in your state is the place to file, and small claims court handles the recovery. Once you start reading invoices the way they deserve to be read, you start noticing charges that were always there but never explained. The shop supplies line. Sometimes it says consumables, sometimes miscellaneous materials. Occasionally it is folded into an environmental charge. The underlying cost is real. Rags and solvents and cleaners do cost money. The problem is when that charge appears on your final invoice without having been on your written estimate. In most states, every expected fee must be disclosed before work begins. A charge that materializes at the end of the job after you already approved the work was never authorized. Most shops remove it the moment a customer points out the discrepancy between the estimate and the invoice, because there is no defense for adding it after the fact. The environmental or waste disposal fee sitting next to it on the invoice has its own layer worth knowing. It sounds like civic responsibility, and the shops know that. But used motor oil has a resale market. Refiners buy it back. Scrap metal from old parts gets sold. In some cases, you are paying a disposal fee for material the shop is simultaneously selling. Again, the fee is not inherently illegal. Charging it without listing it on the estimate is. The same move that handles the shop supplies discrepancy handles this one. All of which brings everything back to one document, the one that every point on this list either relies on or violates, the written estimate you signed before the work started. In most states, the final bill cannot exceed that estimate by more than 10% without your explicit written or verbal approval. Not 10% plus a diagnostic fee, not 10% plus shop supplies, 10% total. A bill that comes back 20% over the estimate without a phone call authorizing the difference is a bill you do not fully owe. Before you hand over your card, put the estimate and the invoice side by side. Any gap beyond 10% that you did not approve is legally contestable, and small claims court handles exactly this kind of dispute without requiring a lawyer. This is what Natasha Mitchell understood. She had a receipt, she had photographs, she had a record of every call that went nowhere. She did not need a lawyer or a perfect case. She needed documentation and the willingness to file the paperwork. The dealer appealed the judgment. The Court of Appeals reviewed the evidence and upheld it. The whole system runs on one assumption: that you are in a hurry, that you trust the paper without reading it, and that you will not push back. Every charge on this list disappears the moment enough people know it does not have to be paid.